Good morning and welcome to Newsroom here on GH1 Television with me, Awisi, Dede, Djangay. Let's take a look at our headlines this morning. Health Ministry urges calm and vigilance as Ebola is fast spreading in Congo and Uganda with 139 confirmed deaths. Public Accounts Committee orders Anglo Afia Danigba Senior High School to immediately pay over 10,000 cedis in salaries arrears to 5 exploited casual workers. National Union of Ghana Students welcomes Rent Control Commission's decision to suspend proposed increases in private hostel fees for the 2026-2027 academic year, pending stakeholders' engagement. Floor sound. In business, Ghana's public debt stock declines to 42.2% in latest summary of economic and financial data released by the Bank of Ghana. Now, on the international front, Nigeria arrests former power minister in hiding after 75 years conviction for corruption. We have details of these and many more coming up shortly. Stay with me. Thank you so much for joining us. The news is coming to you live from our Platinum studio here in Accra, and it's also streaming live on Facebook at GH1 TV. I am Awisi, Dede, Djangay. The Public Accounts Committee has ordered the management of Anglo Afia Danigba Senior High School to immediately pay over 10,000 Ghana cedis in salary arrears to 5 exploited casual workers. A forensic audit exposed that the school administration was paying its campus security guards a flat illegal monthly salary of just 250 cedis in 2024. When dragged before the committee, school authorities tried to defend themselves. They claim they recently increased the wage to 450 cedis. However, lawmakers fiercely rejected the defense, pointing out that the revised amount still falls dangerously below the national minimum wage. Ranking member of the committee, Samuel Atap Mills, warned that an paying guard severely compromises a school authority and school security and has given management a strict deadline to refund the workers. Here I accept.
At the time of the audit, if you have a copy of the report, just open to your page. At the time of the audit, the auditor said you were supposed to do 490.5 Ghana cedis, and you were paying them 250. So calculate the difference. What's the difference? 490.5 less 250. What's the difference?
Chairperson, 240.
So 240 times the number of months that you had engaged them. You owe them that amount of money. 1. And then 2, you have increased it to 450, as you said. The current minimum wage is what?
Currently, it's 21.97.
So 21 times. Is it? How do we do it? 20 working days or 21 working days? Pardon? 27.
27.
So 21 cedis times 27 days. What's the total?
Chairperson, I think it's around 580 thereabout.
580. So you owe them that difference too. So you owe them the difference of 240 over the duration that they worked for the school, and then the new difference from 2026 or 2025 to date. You owe them that difference.
How many casual workers do you have?
Currently, we have 5. 4 at the kitchen, 1 security.
You have a security guy.
As casual.
Why do you need a security guy? No, I want the answer. Why do you need a security guy?
For the security or the safety of the campus and the students and property of.
So you want this person to secure the school, protect your property, and you are underpaying this guy. If you don't pay him the right amount, he will pay himself. When your computer gets missing, don't go and ask him. You are underpaying him. When your books are getting missing at the school, don't ask him, because you are underpaying him. Just because somebody is poor doesn't mean we have to take advantage of that person. Just because somebody needs a job doesn't mean we have to take advantage of that person. Pay people the right wages. Maybe the 4 casual workers that you have, maybe you probably just need 2. I don't know. You are accountant, right?
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, I'll give you a job in Dubai and pay you $1 a day. Is that what you want?
No, Chairman.
Because you want to travel outside the country, not so. And I'm paying you $1 a day. Would that be fair to you?
No, Chairman.
Don't do it to your fellow Ghanaian.
To help us understand the broader conversation about issues of minimum wage violation, we are joined on the phone with renowned labor expert Austin Gambi. Good to have you on the program, sir. I'm sure you also listened to the video we just played. What is your general thought on that?
Well, to be honest with you, this has been a burden for many years now. A lot of organizations, including surprisingly notable organizations like academia, where we are supposed to be teaching, things of this nature, the best way. That is what we have been doing all these years. And so I am not entirely surprised that it still exists, even in the face of our labor law. But I think there can be a solution if we purposefully plan for it and execute the plan well. Then we shall overcome these difficulties.
Is it not concerning that on paper we have a minimum wage range for workers, but in practice it is not so? Is it not concerning?
It should be, and it is. I may not be surprised if the difference is being taken by somebody and pocketing it. I would not be surprised because that is not what is to be done. If it's deliberately being done for a number of years now to a colleague, Ghanaian, clearly what it means is that, I don't want to sound like just anybody talking, but I think that in fairness, this has been a very deceptive way of robbing somebody from his income for well over 4 years. They have been, I think it's not fair. But there is always a way out. They do not have only the accounts office. The boss of the school signs these documents all the time. And he knows that they are underpaying and making reasons out of that. It's not fair. But that's what it is.
One would argue that maybe perhaps the reasons they are being underpaid, these security men are being underpaid, is because there is no money. Is that enough justification for institutions like that?
I'm not too sure that is satisfying enough the schools saw generate some income. They have what they call IDF. They are interested in finding ways and means of paying their own allowances or overtime or something. And whatever crumbs that are left is what is passed on to these people. You know, we have a labor law. We are implementing just about 15-20% now. We are even eager to have it changed. When what we have, we cannot even implement it. The Labor Inspection Division of the Ministry of Employment and Jobs supposed to be visiting the schools and all other institutions. It is not announced and satisfy itself with assurance that they are doing the right thing. Unfortunately, there are a number of workers, dedicated and committed people who themselves might be remunerated well, placed well, to enable them to do their work independently. That's one of the most independent bodies. That is the Labor Inspection Division. But they are not enough. They don't even have cars to go around. Otherwise, some of these things would never happen in a country like ours. So it's unfortunate.
Right. I want to find out from you, what are the avenues available for people like these security men? Because this PAC revelation reveals what is happening in majority of public institutions. So if someone is in such a situation, what are the remedies or avenues available for him?
Well, I'm sure since this news broke, as it is, I can assure you that the National Labour Commission will be inundated with a lot of petitions. I'm looking forward to the opening of the National Area Center that will serve as a hub where people can go with their complaints as well for it to be attended to. But the Labour Commission is the right place. You see, we are too fixated with the kind of finding settlements to problems of this nature when it's not. But we are supposed to be very preventive and have an early resolution of such matters. The Labour Commission should be properly financed to enable them to undertake public education also. You know, in many other countries, you have a situation where a certain percentage of income is set aside for private bodies to undertake some of these kind of findings. Okay. We would have known this thing long ago. This has been happening many years. Yes. It's not just one year. This is one of our 5 years.
Dr. Austin, how do we scare? How do we use this as an opportunity to prevent people, institutions from repeating such actions? I know the PAC, the committee has asked them to refund monies, but beyond that, are there sanctions, punitive measures that could be put in place to prevent these things from happening again?
Well, you see, because we pay people in this country because they've gone to work. Ghana is one of the few countries in the entire world where we pay people for just walking into workplace, closing and going and closing and going. We don't pay people because they have been assigned specific rules to play. We monitor it and pay them on the basis of that. I will have to join hands with you for us to carry out maybe some extensive education on your network and many other networks, and generally to keep the people well informed.
Okay.
This is something that ought to be known. And I also expect the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners to encourage their members to ensure that the right thing is done wherever.
Okay.
You know, that's part of the solution.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Austin Gami. He is a labor analyst there. Let's do more stories. Acting Rent Commissioner Frederick Opoku is warning hostel operators across the country to respect Ghana's rent laws or face scrutiny from the Rent Control Commission. According to the commissioner, hostel operators have over the years ignored provisions of Ghana rent laws by imposing arbitrary increases on students and parents. Speaking on News Tonight, he justified the Commission's decision to halt proposed hostel fee hikes, arguing that years of unchecked increases have placed an unbearable burden on students and parents.
I know people will not be happy, but we live in a country that has laws. Ghana is a country of laws, and that people who work within it or who work within a particular sector must be guided by law. Yes. You build your property, you build your cement and everything. But one thing is, well, you're a business person and you work within the confines of what? Rules. And that laws should be respected. Ghana has laws. We have rent laws. And that tells us that to increase, to add, to subtract, or to stay put, there are rules. According to Section 10 of the Rent Act, rent control is the only institution in this country clothed with authority and power and mandate to help assess rent and thereafter agree or disagree with you based on factors around it. In this case, we realize that hostel operators across the country over the years have acted without due respect to the law. And today, Rent Control Department states that rent laws of the Republic have to work. There are people who are somehow exempted from operation, but in a holistic way, hostel operators are within the rules. And for that matter, when we step out and realize that the amount they are charging, asking students to pay, asking parents to pay, was outrageous. And we wanted to find out how did they arrive at this fees? Or, yes, fees. We still don't know. We are saying that, first of all, hold on. We have acted illegally for years. Now, we stepped out right and we have evidence that they have charged outrageous prices. We have said that you have broken the laws over the year. Now, stay put. Hold on. Let us engage. But before we can engage, we really want you to hold on. As we speak, plans are far advanced that we are sending them letters to engage them by the close of this week or early next week to engage them. And that's why we say they should hold on. And that do not add anything onto what you have done, which we believe is not right. Hold on and let us engage before we can.
Joining us on phone is President for the National Union of Ghana Students, Rashid Ibrahim. Rashid, it's always a pleasure to speak to you on the show. I want to find out from you, what are your expectations ahead of this meeting?
Okay, thank you. My expectation is we have already petitioned the rent control with regards to hostel price and hostel price hikes in the country. In our petition, we outlined 6 grievances that we wanted to be resolved. These are what we are looking forward for to be resolved. I think with regards to the first point that we actually raised, that is they immediately investigate the pricing structure. Already we have the rent control officer went round to assess the veracity of the what we complain about, how the system is. And then to all of us, our surprise, we saw how outrageous that the price were, to the extent that some of even the hostel managers were even running away from engaging the rent commissioner. So we think that putting a temporary hold on the price is the best thing, whilst we look forward to engage them on an appropriate way to get this thing resolved. We do not want a temporary hold, but in the long run, what we are praying for is that after the stakeholders' engagement, of which we would participate, we will play an instrumental role, would help outline what the student concern is during the stakeholders' engagement. I pray that by the end of the stakeholders' engagement, we would have a lasting solution to this canker that has become an albatross on the neck of Ghanaian students. So we welcome it. And it's yesterday that I saw the press release. Students are happy with respect to that. Even as at yesterday, I had students even calling me to complain about the fact that some hostel managers are already giving them notice. Some of them gave them notice 1 week ago that they'll be increasing price. Just yesterday, I had an information from one of the hostels around UPSA that they are telling them that they'll be increasing their hostel price by 200 Ghana cedis in the next semester. So now that this letter is in place, we think that the enforcement of this letter is the best. It came at the right time so that all landlords, all property owners, all hostel managers will put on hold the price that they intend to charge for the next semester. So we welcome this decision, and then we look forward to a fruitful discussion to have a lasting solution to this in the stakeholders engagement meeting.
So, Rashid, over the years, we've seen how the increment has been a serious issue. What would Nooks say is the reasonable pricing window for hostels or accommodation for students when it comes to this matter?
Okay, what to say about reasonable pricing window? First of all, let me elaborate on some of the percentage that some of them have been charging. Some of them within a year they can charge up to 50%. That is unreasonable. Some of them they can charge up to 30% a year. That is the rate of increase that they are putting on. That is unreasonable. As to how to ascertain whether or not something is reasonable to an ordinary man, you must explain to the student that these are the basis, these are the justification of why we are increasing your fees by maybe 10% or 20%. But you don't just stand up or wake up one day and increase it by 30% without providing any justification, of which maybe if you've even added some adjustment, you've made some structural adjustment to it, the cost must be spread throughout the year. The cost must not be paid. It's not compulsory to pay that cost within that year, or the cost within that year. It must be spread across. So as to whether or not the price is reasonable depends on the justification you are providing as to on why you are increasing it. If you don't provide any reasonable justification, any rate that you bring up is regarded as unreasonable and it will be rejected by the student as well. So to determine the reasonability is to say that you need a justification as to why you are increasing. And if that justification makes sense in the minds of the right thinking person, you will say that you are justified to increase your fees. But in the past years, nobody has provided a basis for increase of hostel fees. Nobody has provided a basis for charging high hostel fees. I think it is unreasonable for a hostel manager to increase price by 50% within a year without any proper communication, without any proper justification. If you read the Rent Act, that is not what it says. The Rent Act says that if you're a landlord, you want to increase your price, you must make an application to the appropriate rent officer so that the rate of increase would be assessed. So it is there that the proper assessment would come out. And after the assessment, they will issue you with an assessment certificate before you can come out to say that you are charging this. But without providing justification...
Rashid, I'm so sorry we would have to end the conversation so fast because we really do not have time. But we appreciate your thought. That was Rashid Ibrahim, who is the president for the National Union of Ghana Students. Let's stay on this matter and engage the Director of Communications and Corporate Affairs at the Tenants Union of Ghana, Rindolph Fifa Owari. Rindolph, what do you make of the rent control's decision to meet stakeholders and the call to put hostel fees on hold?
Okay, so thanks very much for having me. We welcome the intervention and we commend the willingness to engage stakeholders. And this, I believe, demonstrates institutional responsiveness to challenges confronting us as a people, and especially as the tenant issue or housing-related matter, which was brought before them as well. I mean, that we are tackling at the moment.
So I want to find out from you, beyond this temporary hold, what are you expecting the rent control to do to tackle this matter once and for all?
Okay, so we believe that our position is very clear, and our position is not anti-business. We believe that hostel investors play a very important role in tertiary education. And so, however, affordability, transparency, and fairness must remain central to this very issue we are dealing with. So, of course, as the state has called for stakeholder engagement, we are looking forward to meeting and also to be able to make sure that students' interests, whereas students' housing-related or hostel issue will not be a challenge for access to education. So, of course, we are expecting to engage in this very stakeholder engagement, and then to bring out some of the relationship or whatever we are expecting to be able to come into play. But of Ghana, as we have mentioned, we have few things we have actually put together, and we are hoping that during that engagement, we'll be able to solve these issues. We'll put these issues ahead. Especially, we want to actually look at having a national accommodation framework, which we need as a country. And I'm sure this engagement will come out of it. We believe we'll put that together and for them to understand. So we need a national accommodation framework, and we also need other things that we want to put up to.
Okay. I'm Director for Communications and Corporate Affairs at the Tenants Union of Ghana, Rindolph Afifa. Thank you so much, Rindolph, for making time to speak with us. Let's do some political stories. A deputy spokesperson to the flag bearer of the opposition, NPP, Dr. Ekwia Amwako, says she's strongly behind Afenyo Markin's use of unprintable words against a circuit court judge over the remand of the Bono Regional Chairman, Abronya DC. The minority leader launched a scathing attack on the judge over continued detention of Abronya, who was arrested for alleged offensive conduct, publication of false news, and statement likely to cause panic. Speaking on GH Today earlier, Dr. Mwako accused the NDC government of weaponizing state security against the NPP and warned the party will not be intimidated.
Abronya is, probably the highest ranking party member that they've arrested and held for this long. That is why the outrage, I think for every action, there should be an equal and opposite reaction. And I am very proud of the minority leaders' comments, because it is an equal and opposite reaction to the balderdash that we are receiving from them. They got the records of proceedings after Afenyo Markin's press conference. The defense of Abronya had not seen the records of the proceedings for that long. If you think that's constitutional and that's the new, that was what you meant by the reset of the judiciary, all of us and Ghanaians will be the judge of it. If it's that now, the judge will say whatever he wants and then take a really long time to bring an edited version of what he told you out, and then that is what we should call. So yes, we would adduce, just as the minority leader said, that it is not constitutional, it is inhumane, and it is mostly illegal. How can you charge him with this, that he said you were a political judge? When you people were calling, you even just here said unanimous FC. You know that if somebody wanted to be petty, this is tantamount to what Abronya said, because you are at that point saying that the Supreme Court was being partial, isn't that? So if by saying that the person is the political judge, isn't saying unanimous FC also saying that the Supreme Court was political? Were you ever picked? And not even where some of you even went as far as calling the Chief Justice, the Supreme Law Officer of this country, Osino Mami. She was called MPP Women's Organizer. What is more political than saying that the Chief Justice is an MPP Women's Organizer? Obviously, I think the judge wants to be made popular. Circuit Court 9 judge. So we will all help him to achieve his ends of becoming popular.
Meanwhile, Press Secretary to the Vice President, Mamia Maprat, says there is no evidence of NDC or government involvement in Abronya's case to warrant the conduct of the minority leader and the subsequent petitioning of the diplomatic corps. She argued that if the minority in Parliament or the NPP had any evidence of that, they would have made it public.
If your legal side goes requesting for bail, and the grounds for requesting for bail is that he's already been granted bail before. And in a very recent history with Oliver Vormawo, when his lawyer also requested for bail using the same grounds of he's already been granted bail and he was refused. And you have been refused. That's a judicial conversation. I don't know if you understand the arguments I'm making. These same grounds that Abronya's lawyer used to request for bail are the same grounds that Oliver's lawyer used for, to request for bail and was refused. Did you hear anybody saying the judge in that instance did not pass his law. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that these are legal matters.
Right.
You can agree, you can disagree. You are well within your rights. So disagree. Bring the evidence. Substantiate the allegations that you are making. Pick a good legal team. Let them make good legal arguments.
Well, a political analyst at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, has criticized the New Patriotic Party over its decision to petition the diplomatic corps following the arrest of some party officials. Speaking on the matter, Dr. Okyere expressed disappointment in the move, arguing that political actors must not insult leaders or engage in unruly conduct under the guise of partisan politics. According to him, if the law is functioning properly, it should be allowed to take its course without interference, stressing that politicians are not above the law. He spoke on News Tonight.
It is not the case that press freedom is being suppressed. It is not supported by data. That apart, you see, if you cannot insult your father, I cannot, in the name of politics, insult Mr. Akufo-Addo, insult Mr. Mahama just because I dislike their political, colors or their politicking. It is against our value system. It is something that they must bear in mind. I can appreciate the political strategy they are adopting, but Mr. Salim or Salam, he must not act unruly. I am of the view that if these arrests are followed, if these arrests follow rule of law, then it doesn't matter whose ox is God. There is no way they want to suggest to all of us that politicians are above the law. And so if they have identified themselves with MPP or NDC and they are being arrested, it means that a political party is being harassed and arrested.
Away from politics, let's do health. The Ministry of Health is urging calm and heightened vigilance as Ebola keeps spreading in Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, with 139 confirmed deaths. This follows the World Health Organization declaration of the Ebola outbreak as a public health emergency of international concern due to rising cross-border transmission risk and the deadly nature of the disease. I beg your pardon.
According to the World Health Organization, the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda is spreading fast and presents a high risk at a national and regional level, with at least 139 deaths and nearly 600 further cases expected as of Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. The World Health Organization has since declared Ebola as a public health emergency of international concern.
I declared a public health emergency of international concern over an epidemic of Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. This is the first time a Director General has declared a FIC before convening an emergency committee. I did not do this lightly. After consulting the ministers of health of both countries, and because I'm deeply concerned about the scale and speed of the epidemic. This epidemic is caused by Bundibujo virus, a species of Ebola virus for which there are no vaccines or therapeutics. In the absence of a vaccine, there are many other measures countries, of course, can take to stop the spread of this virus and save lives, even without medical countermeasures.
However, in a statement signed by the Health Minister, Kwabena Kando, the ministry is calling for collective responsibility in protecting public health. Although Ghana and the West African sub-region have recorded no cases, authorities are urging the public to remain alert and strictly observe preventive health protocols. The ministry also advised the public to carry personal hand sanitizers, practice proper hygiene, and observe universal safety precautions in all public spaces. Citizens have also been urged to rely solely on official health updates and avoid spreading misinformation and panic. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service say surveillance, screening, and emergency preparedness measures have been intensified at all points of entry and health facilities nationwide, with further updates expected
Let's have a conversation on this. Dr. Grace Adjoa is a public health physician specialist. Good to have you on the program, Doc.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you and to your cherished listeners.
Right. Doc, I want to find out if you think the country is prepared should Ebola cross the border.
Yes. Thank you very much for your question. Ghana has strong surveillance and emergency preparedness plans for any outbreak that happens in country. And we have emergency operating centers as well that monitor all alerts. So yes, we are ready for any surveillance, any outbreak that would occur in the country.
In your opinion, you're certain that our system of surveillance and checking these diseases are strong enough, emphasis on strong enough?
Yes. So our systems are very strong, and in all the zones, we have the emergency operating centers, and we have public health officers manning these centers that are ready to increase an alert if anything happens. But the important thing is that the public should not hide the symptoms, and we should also report early. And also, as a community, if you see someone showing the symptoms, it's important that you inform the person to go to the nearest hospital, or if they don't, if there's any clinic nearby, alert the health workers so that they can come in and then intervene. So until you report and we see and also report, we cannot know. So we are counting on citizens. However, any patient that comes to the system, it will be detected. And also, as you stated clearly, at all entry points, there are screenings going on. So we have the systems in place to be able to detect any incident should it happen.
Ebola has been around for quite some time. It comes and goes. What do you think contributes to the fact that it's so difficult to control?
Yes, so as you said, since 1976, it's been detected in DRC, Uganda. There are several strains of the virus. And as you heard Dr. Tidros saying, there are vaccines for some and there are no vaccines for the others. And because of the nature, it's a viral hemorrhagic disease and it spread fast. So contact with body surfaces, body fluids of people can easily spread the disease. Now, when that is spread, because of our nature, our cultural nature, where we shake hands regularly with people, we touch people, we take care of the sick, it's easy for us to come in contact with those surfaces and also with the body fluids of these people, hence the spread of the disease. And for the ones that the vaccine are there for, is prevented. However, majority of the strains do not have the vaccine, hence its devastating nature.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Grace Adjoa Okanse is a public health analyst speaking to us there on Ebola-related issues. Away from that, the government of Ghana has announced a support package for Ghanaians being evacuated from South Africa following recent xenophobic attacks targeting foreign nationals. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa disclosed the intervention package ahead of the arrival of the first batch expected in Ghana tomorrow. There is more.
In a statement issued by the ministry, government said all evacuated Ghanaians would benefit from Welcome Home financial package, as well as transportation assistance to enable them travel to their various destinations across the country. The package also includes a reintegration allowance, free psychosocial support, and placement in a special government database for job and startup opportunities. The attacks, which have largely been linked to anti-immigration protests and from several African governments. The latest incidents gained international attention after disturbing videos circulated on social media showing foreign nationals being harassed, threatened, and assaulted in parts of Johannesburg, Pretoria, and KwaZulu-Natal. In one widely shared video, a Ghanaian man was allegedly confronted and ordered to leave South Africa, triggering outrage in Ghana and among the wider African community. That man has since resettled in Ghana with the help of the Ghanaian government. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa formally summoned South Africa's acting High Commissioner to express what he described as strong concern over the treatment of Ghanaians and other African nationals. Ghana called for urgent measures to protect foreign nationals and prevent further escalation of violence. In response to the worsening situation, the government of Ghana is evacuating 300 affected Ghanaians using a special chartered flight departing from OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg on Thursday, 21st May.
Let's have a conversation on this matter. International relations expert Ishmael Hlovo has joined me on Zoom for a conversation. Good to have you on the program, Ishmael. We know that Ghanaians in South Africa are responsibility of the Ghanaian government. But how would you rate the South African government? Have they done enough to protect foreign nationals over the years?
Thank you for your question. Good afternoon to you. I think that in this particular instance, there's a lot more the South African government can do. We must understand the political context within which that government is operating. These are your own citizens who felt that their economic fortunes have been made worse by the presence of illegal migrants. And so, in as much as we want to condemn the South African government, we must be also circumspect in understanding their political situation. Those we consider undocumented migrants. There are reasons why they are undocumented, and those reasons must be addressed. If those reasons are not addressed, often we will still find countries who are doing well attacking fellow Africans as undocumented people. So I think, yes, you can fault the South African government that they have not done enough. But then when citizens mobilize like this, it's always going to be challenging for a government that is politically not having the best of situations currently.
Do you see this act by the Ghanaian government causing a strain between the South African government and the Ghanaian government?
Not at all, because in any case, the protection of Ghanaians wherever they may be is the preserve of the Ghanaian government. And if the Ghanaian government decided that because of occurrences in South Africa, it is more prudent for the citizens of Ghana to be brought home, that should not cause any diplomatic role. If the South African government is able to protect them, then they should have done that. But once they are unable to do that, it is the responsibility of the Ghanaian government to do whatever it can to protect its own citizens. So it is justified for the government to take this action. I think that government-to-government relation is still very strong. We have a very cordial relation with South Africa at the governmental level. The problem is people-to-people relations based on migration and the challenges that we are facing across Africa.
This evacuation looks like a temporary decision because people who have agreed to come back to Ghana, it's their decision. There are some who might not want to return to Ghana. It is not mandatory. So the rest who are in South Africa, how should Ghanaian government relate to the South African government to prevent further attacks?
Of course, that is why the Ghanaian government will still continue to engage the South African counterpart. The enforcement of domestic security is always at the behest of the host government. So it depends on the Ghanaian government always being in contact with the South African government. Also, the embassy in South Africa always giving out security alerts. When they consider that the environment is not safe for them to go out, then they have to be advised to consider staying indoors and all those arrangements that the embassy has been making as well. And of course, that we should always consider some of them have invested huge sums of money in the South African economy. But those who have considerable large-scale investment in the South African economy, there's the need for a thorough engagement with the South Africans. And of course, if it comes a challenge, we must use the South African courts because, and if assuming you go and open a supermarket and meet the sum of money that is needed for you to run that kind of investment in South Africa, you meet all the legal requirements, then the South African government must be compelled somehow to provide security for you. So I think that yes, some who are undocumented, we may have to find ways to bring them back home. Okay. And of course, it is justified that the government has provided some integration or reintegration packages for them. I think that it's all about ensuring that those packages get to them timely. Those packages are implemented in a manner that ensure that they have a more meaningful life here, so that they will not be tempted to go back there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ishmael, for making time to speak with us. This is still Newsroom here on GH1 Television. We'll be back with business news.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business, Ghana's public debt stock increased to 674.1 billion cedis as of February 2026, representing 42.2% of gross domestic product. In dollar terms, the public debt stood at $63.1 billion in February 2026. In the Bank of Ghana, May 2026 summary of economic and financial data, Ghana's debt stood at 641.1 billion cedis, equivalent to $61.3 billion in December 2025, before rising to 663.4 billion cedis. Despite the increase in the nominal debt stock, the debt to GDP ratio declined from 44.7% in December 2025 to 42.2% in February 2026. The data also showed that external debt stood at $29.3 billion in February 2026, representing 19.6% of GDP. Domestic debt increased to 360.4 billion cedis in February 2026 from 341 billion cedis in January 2026, accounting for 22.6% of GDP. Meanwhile, government fiscal operations recorded a fiscal deficit of 0.3% of GDP in March 2026, while the primary balance posted a surplus of 1.2% of GDP. But some economic analysts expect the Bank of Ghana to maintain its policy rate at 14.40% as the central bank concludes its 130 monetary policy committee meeting today. According to them, the expected decisions reflect broader global monetary policy trends where many central banks are choosing to hold interest rates steady among ongoing geopolitical tensions and inflation concerns. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Johnson Asiama, during his opening remarks at the 130th MPC meeting, explained that although domestic economic conditions are improving, the external environment continues to deteriorate due to the conflict in the Middle East and its impact on global energy and commodity prices. We are now joined by an economist and a lecturer in management and economics at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSC, Dr. Asha. Good to have you on the program, sir. Although the debt to GDP ratio has declined, the debt stock in dollar terms has increased. What does this mean for our economy?
Well, it means that, good afternoon, and thanks for having me. What it means is that in real terms, what you owe has gone up. You want to pay it down. You want to pay off. And if the issues have made it so that the debt stock has gone up, then that means that you've been borrowing more. Percentages are not real numbers. These are relative to 100%. So the real numbers count, and that's what you've just mentioned.
Let's talk about the Bank of Ghana's policy rate. Do you expect the bank to maintain the policy rate at 14%, and why?
Well, I can tell you what I would do if I was on that committee. Inflation rate at the moment is 3.4%, which is a good number. The key thing about inflation is that it has to be stable. It doesn't really matter if inflation is 150%, as long as it can stay stable so that people can businesses can make predictions. 3.4 is an excellent number, and I kind of have a hunch. If I was in their position, I would leave it at that, at least for the next 6 months. The reason being that if you move either way, because you see that policy rate is a lever. When you increase it, what you're telling people is that they can't borrow more, they can borrow less. And then, of course, that might have a good impact on inflation, but then it means that economic development, economic growth might be stifled. If you reduce the policy rate, that means that people can borrow more. The commercial banks would be able to lend more. The downside to that there's the risk of overheating, which is increases in inflation. So if I was in their position in the foreseeable future, in the next 6 months, I'd just leave it open, just leave it as it is, and just monitor and see.
Interesting. We recorded a primary surplus in first quarter of 2026. How important? What does it say to our fiscal stability?
Well, so a surplus in that you are basically selling more and you are buying. Now, in ordinary business terms, any producer would want to do that. So you want to be able to sell more and get more money than you are actually spending. So that's a good thing. What you want to do is to keep that going. And that has repercussions on the exchange rate and the amount of value you can actually put on the products that you're sending. That surplus, a key part of that surplus is to do with processing of cocoa products, which has gone up quite a lot in terms of adding value to it. So the fiscal position is, I mean, when the question you really want to ask is, how is it? What's the impact on that to do with our monetary position rather than fiscal? Because of fiscal, you're talking, taxes and so on. What you want to do is that you want to keep that going and do your best to ensure that you can, at the final analysis, be able to sell more than you are buying.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Bernie Asha. He's an economist and a lecturer at UPSA. Let's do other stories. The Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area has expressed concern over the reluctance of some African countries to support the realization of an integrated single African market. According to him, some countries remain comfortable operating within fragmented colonial-era economic structures instead of embracing a stronger and more integrated African market system.
Policy, trade policy, aviation policy, competition policy that on the face of it appear to be unrelated are now clearly the bedrock of the integrated market that all of us are trying to achieve. I must also say that in the process of developing an integrated market of 1.4 billion people, I was, as a Pan-Africanist, I was surprised by the pushback and the resistance by some Africans. I was really surprised by the commitment of some Africans to fragmentation and the extent to which some among us desired to maintain that fragmentation and to maintain a colonial economic model. And so, however, we did, of course, overcome that resistance by negotiating and providing comfort that we're not trying to take anybody else's job. What we're trying to achieve is a common policy and legal framework on competition for our continent. both for the benefit of big economies and small economies. Benefit of Africans and consumers. And so you will see in the protocol on competition there are various provisions that provide the complementarity that is required.
That'll be all for business. It's time for sports.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Well, welcome to Sports. Ghana will face South Africa in decisive Group D encounter today in the under-17 African Nations Championship in Morocco as the Stars fight to keep their qualification hopes alive. Coach Prosper Nate Ogun supervised the team's final training session on Tuesday evening with the technical team focusing on drills, finishing exercises, defensive shape and set-piece routines ahead of the crucial fixture today. The Stars head into the match under pressure after getting just 1 point from their previous 2 matches. Ghana began the tournament with a 2-2 draw against Algeria before suffering a narrow 1-0 defeat to Senegal. Now, a win today against Africa will ensure the team will have a good chance of progressing to knockouts and also possibly qualifying for the World Cup stage from the FIFA Under-17 Championship later on this year to be held in Qatar. Let's go on to the biggest story clearly from last night. Arsenal have finally ended years of hard finishes after being crowned this year's English Premier League champions on Tuesday night following Man City's 1-1 draw with Bournemouth. Now, the Gunners had done their part 24 hours earlier with a tense 1-0 victory over Burnley at the Emirates Stadium, thanks to a crucial goal from Kai Havertz. Now, with 1 game remaining, Arteta's side sit on 82 points, 4 ahead of City, sealing a historic triumph for the Gunners. Now, fans and players in London and around the world were thrown into a frenzy when City's game ended in a draw. After 3 straight seasons of finishing runners-up, twice behind City and once behind Liverpool, Arsenal have finally climbed back to the summit of the EPL of English football. It is their first league title since the legendary Invincibles in 2004 under Arsene Wenger, in their 14th English top-flight crown overall, a record behind only Man U and Liverpool in the all-time rankings. Good one there for the Gunners. Congrats to all the Gunners in-house here at EIB Network. That's it for us in sports. Up next, though, international news.
Former Nigerian Power Minister has been arrested a week after he was sentenced to 75 years in prison for corruption, the country's anti-graft agency said. Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, said he was detained early Tuesday in Kaduna State following weeks of surveillance and intelligence operation. According to the agency, the former minister went into hiding after a court in Abuja convicted him earlier this month on corruption-related charges linked to 2 hydroelectric power projects. And that brings us to the end of the bulletin here on Newsroom, GH1 Television with me, Awisi, Dede, Djangay. Have a wonderful afternoon.